So hello everyone. Now we are learning solid edge and we are going to continue with the assembly format. In assembly we are going to continue with the crankshaft assembly with piston cylinder. So to start with I am going to call the parts and going to assemble the parts here. So we'll start with inserting the components here. Say insert components. You can see the display of the parts. The preview is being shown in the lower side of this window. Wherever you keep this parts library option, it is movable and draggable. Wherever you want to adjust, you can adjust it there. And you can also see the previews here. So we'll call this part that is crank pin first. So here you can see crank pin has been called. So this is the first part of assembly and we are going to keep this assembly as grounded only. Next we are going to call is this needle roller bearing. So for that I'll just click and drag the part here. So we are going to use the bearing also here. We'll place this bearing by using this method that is axial align. So I'll select this axis circular face and this one as axial alignment. Say close escape. Next we are going to go for the center plane mate. Select the two faces by keeping this option as double. You also need to select the other two faces of the pin and that will center align the bearing to the crank pin. So after fixing crank pin and bearing we are going to call connecting rod here. We'll axial align it first with the bearing. Again we are going to go with the same method that is center plane. We are going to use these two faces of the bearing with reference to these two faces of the connecting rod. Now you can see here this connecting rod is also been fixed here. We'll do one thing here that we'll keep the orientation as we want in isometric view and then we are going to fix the position of this connecting rod. I want this rod to be vertical position. So for that I'll make the planes of this rod visible here. So right click and say show height components. And in show height components we are going to put on this reference planes here. Apply, say OK. Again we are going to go for the assembly planes here. And now we are going to match the assembly planes with the connecting rod planes. So I'll apply the relation by using planar align first. Select the inclined plane. So I'm going to select the front plane of the connecting rod and the front plane of the assembly. You can see the orientation. If I want to flip the orientation, we also can flip the orientations here. I'll keep it on the same position. Now you can see this needle rod bearing, it is not completely constrained as these blue icons are appearing on the part here. So to make this part fully constrained, we need to lock this rotation also. So I'll click on that part. The reference related mate are being shown here. I select this relatable mate that was axial align and just go for this lock rotation option. And now this part is also been completely constrained here. And now you can see one note is appearing showing that the part is fully positioned. Next we'll hide the planes again. Say right click, show hide component and we'll put off the planes here. Say apply and OK. The next part we are going to call here is this cam web part. So I'll drag and drop it here. Say assembly. We'll flip the orientation. Say right click and escape. Next we are going to coincide the side face of this cam web with the side face of the bearing. So I'll select the required relation here that is face to face mate. So I'll select this face, side face of the bearing with reference to side face of the cam web. So the next part I'm going to call here is opposite side cam web. We are going to apply same mates as we have applied earlier, that is assemble. We can directly go for assemble also, flash fit will be applied there, or else we can go for individual mates saying axial align. Next, face to face mate. This face and the other face. Say right click and escape. Next we are going to axial align both the parts here. that is both side cam web parts. So I'll make it axial align again. Next, I want this part to be moved. Here we can see we can rotate this part by dragging option. In dragging, we can say rotate and we can drag this part. So I'll keep it in this position here. Say escape and close. Next, we are going to call the upper parts now. So for that, I'm going to call here one more bearing, that is needle roller bearing number 2. So we need to place this bearing inside this connecting rod. Say assemble. Select the required faces. Say right click and OK. Next is center plane align. We need to select these two faces here and the other two faces of this part, that is bearing. So here this part has been connected here. Next we are going to call the piston here. So here is the piston. Select assembly. We'll match this axis with the bearing axis here. The next part we are going to call here is this piston body. So for piston body I am going to select assembly and say axis of this part going to match with this axis. So here the axes are been matched now. We need to position it properly. For that I am going to use again center plane option. Select these two side faces of the block, piston block, and the two side faces of the connecting rod. Next, for aligning the head properly, I am going to put on the reference planes of the assembly and going to show the reference planes of this part also, that is piston part. Say put on and say OK. Next we are going to say assemble and we are going to select this mates here. And you can see the orientation is perfectly matched now. We need to put off the planes again. So I'll hide this planes of the assembly. Next we are going to hide the plane of the piston block also. Put off the planes here, say apply and OK. Next we are going to insert the piston pin here. Say assemble this outer face and this X. Lastly, we are going to give this center plane option. With reference to piston faces. The side faces of the piston. You can see all the parts are not completely defined. So for defining the parts, we'll start with the cam web. So I'll make this cam web planes visible first. And we are going to match the assembly planes with the cam web planes. I'll put on the assembly planes also. And you can see here, they are a little bit tilted. Here we can see these both planes are a little bit tilted with the angle. So I'm going to say assembly. And we are going to match these planes here. Again, we'll hide the reference planes of the assembly and part. Next, these webcams are now completely defined. So for the needle, I'm going to lock the rotation here. Select the related mate and say lock rotation. And for this piston pin also, same. Select the related mate, that is axial align, and lock the rotation. Now this complete assembly has been assembled here. If we want to explore this assembly, we'll go to tools and we'll go in environments. Here we'll select this option, that is era, representing explode, render and animate environment. Just click on the icon there, and now we can either say auto explode or we can explode it manually also. So I'll say auto explode here. Say OK, say explode. You can see this complete assembly is auto exploded. Again, if I want to change the position of any part, just click on that part, the distance will appear, we'll change the distances there. I'll say 60 mm. Next, if you want to unexplode it again, just click on this option, that is unexplode. Say yes. Again, we can see this complete part has been unexploded now. If you manually want to explode this part or assembly, Just click on this explode option. There are some steps that to be followed here. So just follow the prompt bar. It will ask you to click on the parts to be exploded. So I'm going to select this part here first. Say accept. It will ask you which part is going to remain stationary here. So I'm going to say this pin as a stationary part. Next, it will ask you face of the reference for taking the distance. So I'll select the side face of the pin. It will ask you the direction in which you want to explode that particular part. So I'll say right side only. Next, it will ask you the distance. So I'll say 100 mm. So in this way, you can see here, explode has been offered. If I want to change the distance, I can change it here. I'll say 50 only this time. Select the second part also. Repeat the same thing, that is explode, accept, stationary part, select the face reference, select the direction and distance. Next part is pin, say explode, accept, show the stationary part, show the face and direction. So I'll put the direction again 50 mm only here, say cancel. After that I'm going to select explode again, say piston, say accept, and this time I'm going to select this as a stationary part. In a reference face I'm going to select this flat face here. As I want the piston to be move upward, so I'm going to say upward direction. Just put up the distance, I'll say 50 mm again, and here you can see this piston is moved a little bit upward side. Same way the other parts also. Again the next part, explode, this bearing, say accept, say base part, say the required face, show the direction to move and put up the distance. Say finish, cancel. So this part, say again explode, say accept, stationary part again. Next, face reference, direction and distance. So I'll say 30 mm now, say finish and cancel. I'll change the distance of this part here. I'll say it's 70. Lastly, we are going to move this part, that is the last bearing. Say explode, say accept, then the base part, face reference and distance. This time we'll say 50 mm again, or we'll change it to 35 here and say finish. Say cancel, and you can see this complete assembly has been exploded here. So in this way we can explode it manually. Lastly again unexplode. Say yes. This was explode, unexplode, auto explode. Lastly we are going to render this part, so I'll say close era. And for rendering again I'm going to go for this tools only, there's tool tabs. Here I'll say key shot. It may take little bit time here. And you can see the final render here. If I want to increase the contrast little bit, so in this way you can render the assemblies also. Before applying render, you should apply the materials, then go for the render option. So this was the content for today. Please like, share and subscribe the channel and share the videos as much as you can. Please support us by following the channel and following the playlist also. If any suggestions, comment us below. Till then, thank you.